It was just a folded scrap of paper, slid under my door. 5 words scribbled in black ink. Don't park in your spot tonight. I almost laughed. My neighbor was quiet, awkward, barely said hello. Why would he care where I parked? But at 1 a.m., something made me check the window. And what I saw froze the blood in my veins. My car wasn't there. My spot wasn't empty. It was a trap. And I realized in that moment, my strange neighbor had just saved my life. My name is Alara Wynne, and I never thought a crumpled scrap of paper would change the way I saw everything. My neighbor, my apartment, even my own safety. I'd only been living at Crestwood Apartments for 8 months. It wasn't much. Paint peeling from the railings, hallway lights that buzzed like dying bees, neighbors who barely made eye contact. But the rent was cheap, the commute was short, and I told myself I could handle the loneliness. Most people there kept to themselves. I liked it that way. Except for him. Unit 3B. He was quiet. Too quiet. Always in that gray hoodie. Hood up no matter the weather. Sometimes I'd hear him moving around at odd hours. Doors closing at 3 a.m., heavy boots on the stairwell. He never smiled. Never lingered. Just nodded once in a while if we crossed paths. His name was Ethan Cross. I knew it because I'd seen it scrawled on the brass mailbox downstairs. We weren't friends. We weren't even acquaintances. He was just another shadow in the building. Until the night I came home late and found the note. It was folded in half, slid under my apartment door. The handwriting was sharp, hurried, like someone had written it in the dark. Don't park in your spot tonight. I remember standing there, bag slipping off my shoulder, staring at the words like they were a riddle. Don't park in my spot? Why? My parking space was under the only working floodlight in the lot. It was visible from every angle. Safe. At first, I thought it had to be some dumb joke. Maybe Ethan was just socially awkward and thought this was funny? I tossed the note on my counter, shook my head, and tried to forget about it. But I couldn't. The words sat in my chest like a stone. By midnight, sleep wouldn't come. I paced the apartment, trying to convince myself it was nothing. By 1 a.m., I gave up and pulled back my blinds. That's when my blood turned to ice. A black SUV sat in my spot. Engine off. Windows tinted. But I could see them, 2 silhouettes inside, their cigarettes glowing like fireflies in the dark. Another man leaned against the hood, scanning the lot with predatory calm. And then the floodlight flickered, and I saw it. Wires. Tape. A dark package strapped beneath the SUV. I stumbled back from the window, hand shaking so hard I nearly dropped my phone. If I had parked there like usual, my car would have been sitting on top of that thing. The realization punched the air from my lungs. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't a joke. Ethan's note had just saved my life. I backed against the wall, too afraid to breathe. Should I call the cops? What if those men noticed movement upstairs? The hallway outside creaked. I froze, heart slamming in my chest. Then, 3 soft knocks on my door. I opened it a crack. And there he was. Ethan Cross. Gray hoodie pulled low. Eyes sharp. Unreadable. And in his hand, another folded note. Ethan didn't say a word. He just held the folded note out like it was a secret too heavy for his mouth. My fingers shook as I took it. I unfolded the paper slowly, my heart pounding so loud I was afraid the men outside would hear it. 4 words. Written in the same rushed handwriting. Stay away from windows. I looked up, ready to demand answers, but Ethan pressed a finger to his lips. A silent warning. His eyes darted toward the window, then back at me. That's when I realized, he wasn't scared. He was calculating. Without asking, he slipped inside my apartment and shut the door behind him. The air changed instantly. The walls seemed closer. What's going on? I whispered. Keep your voice down, he muttered. I bristled. You slid notes under my door, scared the hell out of me, and now you're in my apartment. You owe me an explanation. He hesitated, then pulled back his hoodie. His face was pale, tight with tension. They're not supposed to be here, he said finally. Who? The men in the SUV. I stared at him. You know them? Not directly. But I know what they're doing. He rubbed his temples, choosing his words carefully. They're using your spot because it's under the floodlight. Makes it look like everything's normal. Nobody questions a car parked under a light. My stomach dropped. What's under it, Ethan? Is it a bomb? His silence was answer enough. I covered my mouth, trying to steady my breath. Why me? Why my spot? Because it's perfect cover, he said grimly. And because they didn't expect me to warn you. The way he said it sent a chill down my spine. You knew this was going to happen, I whispered. I knew something was coming. Before I could press him further, the SUV doors creaked open. Heavy footsteps echoed in the lot. I crept to the blinds, careful not to move them too much. The men were unloading crates. Dark, heavy, stamped with symbols I didn't recognize. One of them barked orders in a language I couldn't place. What do we do? I asked, panic threading through my voice. Nothing, Ethan said firmly. Not yet. I spun toward him. Nothing? They're strapping bombs under cars. If you call the cops right now, he said, eyes steady, you'll be dead before the sirens hit the block. The words sank like ice into my bones. I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand answers. But something in his tone, calm, unshaken, told me this wasn't the first time he'd seen something like this. I didn't know who Ethan really was. But I knew one thing. My life was now in his hands. And I hated how much that terrified me. The men stayed until nearly 3 a.m. Every minute crawled by, stretching tight like a wire ready to snap. Ethan didn't move from his spot by the door. He stood like a sentry, eyes fixed on the shadows outside, listening to every sound. I sat on the couch, clutching a pillow like it could protect me. My mind spun. Who were they? What were they planning? And why did Ethan seem like he knew so much? Finally, the SUV's engine growled to life. The men climbed in, headlights slicing across the lot before vanishing into the night. Silence fell, thick and heavy. I let out a shaky breath. They're gone. For now, Ethan said. I turned to him. You're going to start explaining. Right now. Who are you, Ethan? And how the hell did you know they'd be here? He didn't answer immediately. He pulled the hood tighter, as if weighing whether I could be trusted. I used to work with people like them, he said finally. Security. Surveillance. Let's just say I left on bad terms. I blinked. Left? Or ran? His jaw tightened, but he didn't deny it. My skin prickled. My quiet, hoodie-wearing neighbor wasn't just some loner. He had a past. A dangerous one. So why warn me? I pressed. Why not just move your own car and keep out of it? He looked me dead in the eyes. Because you remind me of someone I couldn't save. The words hit me like a stone. I didn't know what to say. Before I could reply, the sound of tires screeched in the distance. Both our heads snapped toward the window. Another car pulled into the lot. A black sedan this time. Two men stepped out, scanning the spaces with flashlights. Stay down, Ethan ordered, pushing me gently to the floor. We crouched in silence as beams of light swept across the blinds. My pulse thundered so loud I thought they'd hear it. Finally, the lights moved on. The sedan idled for a moment, then drove off. I exhaled shakily. What was that? They're checking, Ethan said, making sure no one noticed. I stared at him. You've been watching this for a while, haven't you? He didn't answer. That silence told me everything. I should have been furious. I should have kicked him out right then and there. But instead, one thought consumed me. Whatever was happening, I was already too deep. And the only person who seemed to understand it was the neighbor I had once thought was just a shadow in the hallway. Ethan Cross. The man who had just saved my life. And maybe the man who could get me killed. The next morning, sunlight poured into the apartment like nothing had happened. Birds chirped. Kids waited for the school bus. Normal life ticked on. But nothing felt normal anymore. I hadn't slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the SUV, the wires, the men with cigarettes glowing in the dark. And every time I turned my head, Ethan was there, silent, watchful, leaning against the door like a soldier on guard. Finally I snapped. You need to tell me everything. No more half-truths. No more cryptic notes. What's going on? He rubbed his jaw, silent for so long I thought he'd ignore me. Then he said, they're not random. They're part of something organized. They use apartment lots like ours to stash things. Small towns, quiet neighborhoods, it's cover. Stash what? I pressed. His eyes darkened. Weapons. Sometimes worse. A chill ran down my spine. And you just know this? I used to work for a private security firm, he admitted. We monitored movements like theirs. I got too close. Learned too much. Walked away before I became part of it. I swallowed. And now? They want me quiet. And anyone near me. My blood ran cold. You mean me? He nodded. I sank onto the couch, gripping my knees. So my parking spot wasn't bad luck. It was bait. Exactly. The room fell silent, the weight of it pressing down. My entire life had been rerouted by one scrap of paper under my door. Then my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. Move your car back tonight. Don't ask questions. My heart hammered. I showed Ethan. He stared at the screen, then shook his head. They know you stayed away. They're testing you. What happens if I don't? He looked at me, voice flat. Then they'll come upstairs. The words landed like a knife. I wanted to run. I wanted to pack a bag and never look back. But something in Ethan's steady gaze kept me rooted. He was hiding things, yes. But he wasn't lying about the danger. And I realized something terrifying. I couldn't fight this alone. We need to call the cops, I whispered. He shook his head immediately. Not yet. If we call too soon, they'll vanish. And they'll know who tipped them off. Then what do we do? Ethan leaned forward, voice low. We wait. Tonight, they'll make their next move. And when they do, we'll be ready. The certainty in his tone both steadied and terrified me. Because whatever ready meant, I had a sinking feeling it wasn't going to be safe. Night fell heavy, pressing against the windows like a warning. I paced the apartment, nerves unraveling with every tick of the clock. Ethan sat calm, hood up, hands steady. He was like stone. How can you be so calm? I demanded. I'm not calm, he said. I'm practiced. The words sent another shiver down my spine. At 12:47 a.m., the black SUV rolled back into the lot. Same men. Same cigarettes glowing like tiny fires. But this time there was something new. Another car pulled in behind them. Sleek. Dark blue. Plates covered with tape. 3 more men stepped out. One carried a duffel bag so heavy the straps dug into his shoulder. I crouched by the blinds, heart slamming. What's in the bag? Explosives, Ethan said without hesitation. My mouth went dry. How do you know? Because I used to carry one just like it. The SUV's trunk opened. The men transferred crates and bags. One of them glanced up at our building. My stomach dropped. He's looking right at us, I whispered. Ethan pulled me back from the window. Stay low. Footsteps echoed outside. Boots on pavement. Doors slamming. Then, silence. Minutes stretched like hours. Then my phone buzzed again. Another text. We know you're watching. Wrong move. My hands trembled so violently I nearly dropped it. They know. Ethan's jaw clenched. It's fine. They want to scare you. Scare me. I hissed. They could kill me. He met my eyes. Not if you stay with me. The words were meant to reassure, but they raised a darker question. Why was I safer with him? What exactly had he done before all this? Before I could ask, a sharp sound split the night. A car alarm. Then another. The men outside scattered, moving with terrifying coordination. What's happening? I whispered. They're covering a delivery, Ethan said, grabbing his bag. A delivery of what? He looked at me, his eyes hard. Weapons. Maybe worse. Enough to hurt a lot of people. My chest heaved. We have to call the cops. We will, he said, voice clipped. But not yet. I need them caught with it. If the police come too soon, the men will scatter. Evidence will disappear. His calm certainty rattled me. This wasn't just some quiet neighbor. Ethan Cross was a man who had been waiting for this moment. And whether I liked it or not, I was caught in the middle of his unfinished war. The parking lot was chaos in silence. Men moved with precision, passing crates and bags like shadows. Every gesture was sharp, controlled. This wasn't random crime. This was military. I crouched by the window, barely breathing. They're going to blow something up, aren't they? Ethan's voice was steady, but his jaw was clenched. Not here. They're staging. Prepping for transport. I turned to him. And you just know this? He looked at me, his eyes like steel. Because I used to be them. The words detonated in my chest. What? I was recruited after I left the service, he said quickly. Private contracts. Black market surveillance. I saw too much. I left when I realized they weren't just moving guns. I whispered, horrified. Bombs. And worse. My legs shook. The neighbor I barely spoke to, the man who slipped notes under my door, had once worked for the very people outside. Why are they here, Ethan? Why now? His silence told me more than words could. He'd been waiting for this. Watching them. Tracking them. And now I was tangled in it. Suddenly, headlights swept across the lot. A patrol car. My heart leapt, cops. But Ethan grabbed my wrist. No. Not yet. The patrol car slowed, idled for a heartbeat. Then kept driving. Didn't stop. Didn't check. They're bought, Ethan muttered bitterly. Or blind. I felt sick. Then a crash outside. One of the men had dropped a crate. The lid popped open. Even from the window, I saw it. Rifles, sleek and black, stacked like firewood. My blood turned to ice. Ethan pulled something from his bag. A small camera, long lens attached. He snapped photos through the blinds. What are you doing? I hissed. Evidence, he said. The feds won't move without proof. The word feds made my skin crawl. This wasn't just neighborhood trouble. This was national. Another text buzzed my phone. You should have parked your car. Last warning. I showed Ethan, my hands trembling. They're on to you, I whispered. What if they come up here? They won't, he said firmly, though his hand gripped the camera tighter. Not yet. But if they do, I'll handle it. The way he said it, I believed him. And that terrified me more than the men outside. Finally, after what felt like hours, the SUVs pulled out. Engines roared, tires screeched, and the lot fell silent again. I collapsed onto the couch, shaking. It's over. Ethan shook his head. No. It's beginning. They'll move the shipment tomorrow night. And if we don't stop them, a lot of people will die. I stared at him. We. He met my eyes. You're already in it, Ilara. And I can't do this alone. The next 24 hours stretched thin, every sound amplified, every shadow suspect. I couldn't focus at work. All I could see was the SUV, the crates, Ethan's steady eyes. By nightfall, I was back at the window, watching. Waiting. Ethan was beside me, calm as ever, his camera ready. At 12:30 a.m., they returned. 2 SUVs. Same men. Same routine. Only this time, the duffel bags were heavier. Ethan whispered. Now. He pulled out a burner phone, hit speed dial. This is Cross. Target confirmed. Shipment in progress. Move. My head whipped toward him. Cross? Who are you calling? Before he could answer, headlights cut across the lot. Black vans with tinted windows. Doors flew open. Armed agents poured out, shouting commands. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Hands in the air. The lot erupted. Men scrambled. Weapons clattering. One fired a shot. Glass shattered somewhere. My scream caught in my throat. Ethan yanked me down to the floor as bullets cracked the night. Stay down. My body shook uncontrollably, ears ringing, but I forced myself to peek. Agents swarmed the SUVs, tackling men to the ground, cuffing them. Others pried open crates, weapons glinting under floodlights. It was over in minutes. When silence finally returned, Ethan stood and pulled me gently to my feet. His hoodie was torn, his face pale, but his eyes were steady. I whispered. You knew all along. You were working with them. He nodded slowly. Not with them. With the Bureau. I went undercover years ago. When I left, it wasn't just walking away. I was recruited. I moved here to watch. To wait. My chest heaved. And you used me. His expression softened. No. I saved you. That note. It wasn't part of the plan. It was me not letting another innocent person get caught in the crossfire. I searched his face, desperate for anger, for betrayal. But all I felt was the echo of fear, and the undeniable truth that if not for Ethan Cross, I'd be ashes in a crater. Agents swept the lot, hauling men into vans. One stopped by us, nodding at Ethan. Good work, Cross. We'll debrief tomorrow. And just like that, he wasn't a shadow in a hoodie anymore. He was something else. Something bigger. When the lot finally cleared, I stood at the window, staring at my empty parking space. For years, I thought safety was locks, lights, routines. But safety had slipped me a note, scrawled in rushed handwriting, slid under my door by a neighbor I'd barely spoken to. I turned to him. I'll never look at you the same way again. He almost smiled. Good. The night settled back into silence. And I realized, for the first time in months, I wasn't afraid of the dark.